Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Best People We Know radio show. This is where you'll meet experts and celebrities who share their success secrets with you to help you be your most successful best too. Your host, Deb Scott, is a certified professional coach at Discover the Amazing You Coaching and author of the award-winning motivational book, The Sky is Green and the Grass is Blue, turning your upside-down world right side up. The Best People We Know radio show brings you powerful resources, effective ideas, and transformational tools you can use to educate, inspire, and motivate you to be your most purposeful, peaceful, happy best. So get ready to experience mind vitamins to feed your whole soul. Good change is about to happen. The Best People We Know radio show. Here's your host, Deb Scott.
Oh, good morning to all the beautiful, best people I know out there. Oh, my gosh. Okay, the snow has finally melted in Boston. I just want you to know it's major. I need to, get one of those T-shirts made. I survived the winter of 2015 in Boston. Oh, my goodness. It's so great to see the sunshine, and I know a lot of you are creating sunshine around the world today. Well, our guest is Lisa-Jey-Davis. She is going to give us an inside look into Hollywood. She's worked inside with many A-list celebrities, and it's just mind-boggling, some of the stories that she has and how life is so different from what we see on the TV screen to what is actually going on behind the scenes. And, her story is really more about embracing and reinventing life and loving the person that you are and dealing with challenges with grace and positive energy. She's gone through divorce. She's was a single mother for 2 children, still is a single mother of 2 children. She's had breast cancer. She's had major surgery. She's lost a sister to breast cancer. She's really reinvented herself, and she has had so many challenges to overcome. I know you're going to love this show. You're going to find it incredibly inspirational. She has her new book talking about all this called Ms-Cheevious. Isn't that clever? Ms-Cheevious. And it's an Amazon bestseller, and you can find more about her at www.ms-cheevious.com. And she's also on Twitter at lisa-jey, Lisa-Jey, and ms-cheevious. That's her other Twitter handle, ms-cheevious. You're going to love the show. And if you want to call in and talk to Miss Cheevious herself, just call 347-637-1318 and then hit pound 1, and that'll put you through to the switchboard. All right. I also want to remind you, you can get a listing of all of our great guests. Just stop by debscott.com. I hope you'll do that, debscott.com. Sign up for the monthly Mind Vitamin News. There's a little green box at the top. You can download the ebook and sign up for the newsletter. And also follow us on our Blog Talk Radio homepage by clicking that blue button on the left, and you'll get a listing of all of our great guests when they happen. You can listen to us 24/7 on demand. Whew! Said all that without a breath. Okay, so Lisa-Jey, as I said, she's an award-winning writer. She's a best-selling author. She's a former television production talent manager. She's worked with musicians, fashionistas, celebrities. You know their names. She's going to tell you all about them. She's been MTV, CBS, NFL, you name it. She's been there and done that. But her new book, Ms-Cheevious, it really does bring the funny into real life and love. And she's made appearances on The Doctors, on the CW in Los Angeles, very many other shows. And her passion about talking about women's health issues. She's a health and fitness contributor for Livestrong. She also blogs for the Huffington Post. She's a certified Pilates instructor. And she's going to tell you about, she really didn't like her body. She didn't like her weight. She didn't like what she looked like before she got divorced. But she changed all that. And she's going to give us some tips on how to do that as well. When she's not at seminars and events, she offers personal fitness and weight management sessions and teaches fitness classes around the Los Angeles area. Right now she lives in Santa Monica, and she enjoys every single moment of her life, and she's going to tell us how to do the same. It is a privilege and a pleasure to welcome the one and only Miss Lisa-Jey-Davis. Good morning, sunshine. How is it in California?
Oh, it's early and it's beautiful out. It's one of my favorite times of the day.
Oh, my goodness, I know.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Reading your book, I thought I knew you, but wow, what a life. I was just exhausted reading the pages, thinking about everything that you had been through. Oh my goodness. What prompted you to write this particular book? And tell the listeners, who is it for? Because seriously, I don't know if it's for somebody who's interested in, the real life Hollywood behind the scenes, if it's somebody who wants to get into the business, if it's somebody who's a single mom, if it's somebody who's dealing with a health issue like breast cancer, if it's somebody who's, lost a sister. I mean, I don't know how to, I really had a hard time putting your show into a category, okay?
I think it's for anybody who likes to read a good memoir, really. It's about, and then that's first and foremost, because as you say, it covers my life and a lot of different topics, although it doesn't really touch on the breast cancer gene or any of that sort of thing, because that came much later than this part of my life. But it, and then secondly, I think it's for single moms or anyone who's ever been a mother, not necessarily single. And then also it's for people, you kind of nailed it, it's for people who, single moms, and also anybody who's interested in what goes on in Hollywood and the funny, interesting stories of some of the people that they've heard about and seen in films and television. And there you go.
Yeah,
and if you like a good book, that's the thing. And I tried to lace the entire book with lots of humor, because if you can't laugh at yourself at the end of the day, then I think you would either have to cry or just bury your head in the sand.
Well, you definitely have an amazing sense of humor, and I'm telling you, I mean, you could put if you can put the flavor of humor into some of the things that you had to overcome, I tell you what, you're an inspiration that has to be contagious for the rest of us, because looking at the before, the during, and the after, and you're still not finished yet, and I just encourage everybody, you got to go to the website, ms-cheevious, and see the beautiful Lisa J, and then you start reading her book, and you're reading about her dealing with a husband that was in rehab, and she ended up getting divorced, and all the struggles and the abusiveness, and you didn't like your weight and what you look like, and then you see the vision of beauty now, and you say, oh my God, how did it? Small town girl in New Mexico, living the past life in L.A. But let people know how this all started, because it really is a tearjerker reading about the beginning of your story.
How the book started, how I started to write the book, or tell them about the beginning of the book.
Well, you can do. Hey, it's your show. You do what you want. But I was going to say about the beginning of the book, how you started it out.
Well, the beginning of so and you've mentioned, that I, like many women who have had children and are either currently in a marriage that is struggling or have been in that situation, I struggled with my weight after my last child was born, my youngest, and I had, I was put on bed rest during my pregnancy with him for the last 2 months. I was over 200 pounds and 5'5", and that was when I was pregnant when I gave birth. And then, the fallout after that was, trying to get back to my regular weight, which, as a young mom and struggling in a marriage that was not doing well, it just didn't happen for me. So I had been trying off and on, and I didn't necessarily not like what I looked like in terms of me, Lisa-Jey-Davis. I knew, I'd been in modeling school in in junior high and, or finishing school, they call it, and, had aspirations of, of being able to stay fit and lean and
yeah.
and I'd always been very athletic, and I'd been an ice skater for 9 years growing up and a cheerleader in high school, and I ran on the track team. I was always very active, and so when my marriage finally really did crumble, and it was very dramatic, and I depict that in the beginning of the book, I just it finally struck me that I was like, okay, that's it. There are no more excuses. There is no more reason for me not to take care of me. And so that's what I did. I just took the bull by the horns and focused. And it really does take anybody who's ever tried to lose weight or struggle. And this is a very small portion of the book, but I do touch on it with a lot of humor because it really was a big part of me kind of taking the reins and saying, okay, that's it. I'm in charge here. And that's what I did.
And really having that to reinvent yourself with that discipline and that hope that, okay, you're not going to stay in the abusive marriage. You're not going to stay in the body that it doesn't really belong to yours. And it's really shocking to think about you at 5'5", at 200 pounds. I mean, that to me is mind-boggling, especially looking at you now. But I think that was a catalyst that transformed you into looking at all of your dreams, and one of those dreams was working in Hollywood and doing the TV production. Share with the listeners about how that happened, because you had some friends. It was amazing to me how it just sort of all fell into place, and how you just the mint juleps or whatever. I mean, it just all seemed to fall in place. Tell people about that transition, how you got into really living your dream, working as a TV producer.
Well, it's so funny because people often don't share the steps it took for them to do, and even in the book, that doesn't cover every single thing. When we were still in New Mexico, I was interested in television, and I started to sort of unfold, my dream or take steps to help that happen. Even during the end of the marriage, when we were in New Mexico, I went, I was back in school, and this is why I went back to school, and then shortly after I went back to school, my husband relapsed again and was out of the house, and I had to try and scramble and have child care while I'm in classes and trying to work. And it was a nightmare. But the classes that I was in was for broadcast journalism and television production. And I got an internship at the local television station so that I could learn, camera operation and being on the news desk and all that sort of thing, and producing news segments and writing news segments. And I did that as an intern and then also as a part-time fill-in person during the holidays. After I was done with my internship, I went to another station and wrote little news segments for that news station in Albuquerque. So I had already started to sort of dip my toe in the pool, and I had a very good friend who I had lost touch with, when, as anyone knows who's been in a marriage that is not healthy, or in any relationship that's not healthy, boyfriend, girlfriend, good friends, whatever, you find yourself in a situation or a world where you cut yourself off from opportunity or from other things that are good for you. You don't do it purposely, but that's what staying in an unhealthy situation does to you. It cuts off other healthy opportunities. And so I had lost touch with this friend who had been one of my roommates as a single gal, and we were very good friends, and, for very different, many reasons, we lost touch. And one day I'm watching television, and I'm sort of the frumpy housewife with my baby at home. This is before I went back to school and went into television classes. I'm flipping through the TV, and I see her on television on E! Entertainment TV. And I'm like, oh, my God. So I call E! Entertainment Television, and it really was a series. Like I said, it wasn't just me going, okay, I'm going to work in TV, and I'm going to go to this event, and I'm going to meet all the people that are responsible, and I'm going to get in good with them, and I'm going to, it was many layers. So for whatever reason, the stars aligned that whoever it was connected me directly to her desk, which never, ever happens. And I let them know I went to school with her, and and I told them the whole story. But it didn't matter. The rules were you don't put them through. You take a message or whatever.
Right.
And so we reconnected, and I I took a little weekend getaway at some point, and this is before my husband relapsed. I was at home. And I was able to get away for a weekend, and things were starting to happen with him, but it wasn't horrible. He was, just doing some prescription drug stuff because of pain management and stuff, so it wasn't awful, but I was able to get away for a couple of days, and she took me to the set at one of her shoots at E! Entertainment TV, and we did some things, and we went to a couple events. I don't even remember, and I just had such a wonderful time. I said, "This is my world. This is what I want to do." And so I was bit, but then the book. This is all before the book. And then the book, the move to Los Angeles happens, or Orange County, and we were moving really to get a fresh start after my husband relapsed, and the whole television thing was really on the back burner. I wasn't quite. It was sort of on the back burner. I was sort of misguided in trying different things. I was trying acting, and I wasn't ever interested in acting, believe it or not. I didn't even know if I could do it, and I didn't know anything about it. But that's what everybody thought I should be doing. So I did all of that, and we were in Orange County, and then the wheels started to come off in the marriage, and the relapse that had already happened, and he'd been through rehab and everything, came back. He relapsed again, and this time we had no support system, and so I kind of put everything on the back burner and had to get a job, and I got a corporate job. I did what any good mother would do. I needed to support my family, so I did that, and anyway, we were doing what we could, and my networking with my friend, that was a very serendipitous situation, and she was really my in to go to the Mint Jubilee at the Kentucky Derby and all those things that I talk about at the very beginning of the book, where that's really how I was introduced in a very unique way to this group of people who then, anyone else is introduced to somebody like that and thinks, wow, those are some cool people. I hope I get invited again. Me, no. I get their phone numbers and I start calling.
Talk about embracing the opportunities that are presented to you. Seize the day with Lisa J. Definitely. You were too much. That is a testimony to each one of us, just saying, go with the flow. If God opens the doors, you just walk through and ask questions later.
Exactly.
And I want the listeners to know, just to kind of bring them up to speed. I mean, you have worked with names that they would know. I mean, they would know Gwen Stefani, they would know Sting, Sheryl Crow, Dave Matthews Band. In the book, you have some pitches, Stevie Wonder, Pink, and pitches with your mom. But NFL, CBS, MTV, VH1. How did you go from that? The Mint Julep, just going as kind of a casual guest with your friend, into actually getting this full-time job. And honestly, reading about the behind the scenes, I was exhausted, Lisa. I was like, how can one human being, I know you talked about it and defined it like sort of like some type of like a Hollywood hangover almost, because you just go, and then all of a sudden it stops, and the next day you're like, give people an understanding of what they can expect when they read about that.
Well, I don't want to give the book away, but it
it really is something. I had to reread some of the lines. Like, are you kidding me? Oh my goodness.
I know. So, like I said, it was very much a situation where I met people, and I knew these people were making things happen in LA, and they were good people to know. And instantly, it was like immediately I knew, even though I went to the Kentucky Derby with a corporate job that I was very happy with and was, talking about my 401k plan on the way out there, the minute I landed and sat in a production meeting about, the show that was going to be happening, and my girlfriend was the MC, or the mistress of ceremonies, for, and, all these things that they were talking about, the wardrobe and the lighting and the music and the band and this musician that was going to perform, and at this time, and I'm just listening, and, a fly on the wall, I was like, that's it. Inside of me, a switch went off, and I went, that's it, done. This is what I want to do. And I knew. And I made really good friends with these people during this time, as good as friends as you can become in a weekend. But I connected with them. I got their phone numbers, and I started making plans to, get back up to LA if I had to sell my place in Orange County and move. At this time, my ex-husband had left and was gone, and I was by myself in Orange County with the kids, and I was ready, so I started taking trips on, the weekends up to Los Angeles and trying to go to any kind of networking event I could. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend would invite me to things, she was in a fashion show with a bunch of celebrities, one where Rod Stewart was sitting in the front line of the, of the audience because his then wife was and daughter were in the show as models, and I did stuff like that, and I remember one of my networking, quote unquote, instances where I was meeting her group of friends at a place on Sunset, and we were all going to go to the event together. She wasn't going to be there. I had to meet these people that I've never known or met before, and it was before cell phones and texting were huge. I mean, everybody had a cell phone, but it was very private. You didn't text. Nobody, you didn't just
all
give
that
people
texting
your
stuff.
number.
Nobody was. It wasn't like it is today. Yeah.
No, so I actually had to go to this bar and sit and wait and hope I sort of knew who walked in that could be possibly her friends, and go up and introduce myself. And but while I was there, I met somebody who worked for a record label in Los Angeles. He was having drinks with Richard Branson's son, and they were talking about, some magazine they wanted to publish and, different things. But the guy who was with the record label ended up being the guy who gave my older son his first job in Los Angeles. He worked at a record label called 5.1 Entertainment. The label was called Emergent Records, and Emergent Records was famous for a little-known band called Fleetwood Mac and their Rumors
Just
album.
A little well-known band, yes.
Yeah, and the Rumors album was on Emergent Records, and that was their big hit back in the day. And anyway, but this was way past that, so at the time I think Emergent Records had little-known bands, and there was not a lot going on, but they also owned 5.1 Entertainment, and they needed a Girl Friday. They gave my son a job, and my son to this day works at Sony Entertainment doing things that he started to learn while he was there, and when so many serendipitous meetings happen when you put yourself out there, and that's what I did. I put myself out there, and I was not afraid to strike up conversations and make intelligent conversation about whatever. I've always been well-read. I've always been the kind of person who finds out about different industries and likes to learn about things. I'm kind of techno-geek woman also. I know about computers. I know about, programming and things like that. I know, I was a musician in high school and out of high school, and I had even and that's funny, I had even produced an album that was sort of jazzy, inspirational, believe it or not. years and years before, and I still had the tracks. And this guy that worked at Emergent Records, he also was a music supervisor for films, for motion pictures. And he said, yeah, I'm the one who puts, I submit the music, the tracks for films. And so I connected with him in that sense. And I said, I'll send you my music. And I sent him some of my tracks, and he actually submitted one of my songs for a film that the film ended up not getting made. But, so I was all over the place. I mean, I was just that kind of a person. Like, I would strike up a conversation just like you're hearing me now. I went from meeting my friend's friends at a pub to go to her fashion show to all of a sudden my son has a job and I've just had my music submitted to a major motion picture. So that was just how things, and it still is how things happen in everyday life in conversation if you're willing to put yourself out there and make conversation. So,
I found, yes, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but Lisa, I found so many great life lessons, and I'm just going to direct people because you have to really read the book. We can't cover it all in, 40 minutes here on the show, so you've got to get the book by Lisa J, ms-cheevious. It's a bestseller. You'll love it. If you need a reality check with, it's like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, and Lisa J has the medicine bottle. It's amazing. But, most of us, what I've learned about the life lessons in reading your book and the times that we've known each other, and you have your own marketing and founder of a marketing company, lisa-jey-davis Associates, one of the things that I noticed was you were putting yourself out there and being present in the moment, and most of us don't get a chance to meet, Scarlett Johansson or Tom Cruise along the way and do that. But what I noticed that you did is you treated everybody along the way exactly the same, whether it was some super famous person along the way, or you were just getting to your roots with your mom and your sisters and your family and your old friend, and really getting into what matters most to me. And ultimately, you really bring the reader, I think, to being a mom and having your two boys and what that means. And I would love for you to bring us to that place of, for a while there it seemed like you might have been getting caught up in all that whirlwind of the Hollywood A-listing busyness, but you really got back to that place of, who am I? What am I here for? What's my purpose? And discovering how being a mom and how your priorities changed and how all of these events and tragedies turned you and transformed you into a better person, and you're still not finished. Speak to the listeners about that discovery and how you can help them get there too.
Well, the biggest thing for me, and I think as part of my whole life, I guess you kind of tuned into one aspect of just who I am, is I always treat everybody, everyone's on an equal playing field, and that's just, and I think that comes from being from a big family and many personalities, but you're still one unit, and I guess I took that out into the world. But my biggest thing, and I think that's partly why, and probably the main reason why I even wrote the book, is in the end, it's about the footprint that you leave behind. And, what do you want to be remembered for? Who do you want to be? What is that footprint that you want to leave in the sand, And so I've always been very cognizant of that, and I've also always been very self-aware, always. And that's just something that, people you have to hone that skill. You have to make yourself stop, pay attention, look at the road signs, do a personal inventory, and look at what's going on and pay attention to the people around you. And I was fortunate. I talk about it in chapter 1 where, this nightmarish incident happens with my husband, and which was the catalyst to start the divorce proceedings. But I talk about that, and I say I'm fortunate, but I had social services called and many different things happened that were very serendipitous. And thankfully, on my end, social services being called was not from a neighbor or somebody meddling. It was from my son's counselor, because he witnessed something and he talked about it in therapy, and she was required by law to call and let social services know. And so social services, at this point, my ex-husband was out of the home, so they became my ally and provided me with therapy. And it was a requirement. They wanted to make sure that me and the boys were doing well, and so we went to therapy, and they had some of the best therapists. And I went to, and I only went, I'm assuming they had some of the best. I just ended up with one of the best I've ever met in my life. And she was just very instrumental in helping me remember and helping me build a healthy life around myself. And, I talk about a thing that she gave me, a printout that I still have on my refrigerator to this day, about the types of people that you surround yourself with and the types of people that you invest in with your time. And, sometimes you invest a ton of time in people, and really they don't deserve a front row seat in your life. They need to be moved up to the rafters. They can still be lovingly, allowed in your life when they're around, but they aren't giving you equal time and or the same kind of respect. And so there were just many life lessons that I learned, and I think that was the whole idea behind the book, is that, this is what I want to do and this is who I am, but not at the cost of everyone in my life, and not at the cost of my boys, certainly. And so it's that balance thing, finding that balance, pursuing your dreams, but at the same time making sure you're always finding your priorities or reestablishing your priorities and making them, the pinnacle or the barometer for how much time and effort you put into things. So that was it. I guess that would be how I would speak to people. Anyone, a guy pursuing his dreams, you have to pay attention to your wife and kids, or your family, or your whatever else. If you have nobody in your life and that's it, then your career is your deal, but you're still creating an imprint or a footprint. And how are you doing that? Who are you affecting in your life by the way you treat people and that sort of thing? So
yeah, and one of the other things, Lisa, that I noticed, and really for anyone out there who thinks this is, like I said, just about the Hollywood glam life, it is and it isn't, because you almost need that sense of humor about it, because some of the issues are so serious. A lot of people don't want to talk about abusive relationships or what it's like to live with a drug addict. Somebody doesn't want to talk about the pains of divorce. Somebody doesn't want to be transparent about therapy. Somebody might not want to talk about what it's like to live in a place where everybody's concerned about, the visual and the outside, and how it is to be a single mom, or how it is to, and again, you've really become an advocate for people with the BRCA1 gene, and having major surgery, and dealing with the aging and early menopause, and having your body change. I mean,
so
you really, and which will lead to the next book that you'll be coming back on to talk about, which I read and loved. But you almost need that sense of humor to invite the reader or anyone to be able to deal with it, because the reality of what you're talking about is so painful and so harsh that to discuss it and have the courage to talk about it really needs that sense of humor, but not in a Pollyanna way, because you really do give practical advice. Throughout the book, you give that do 1, 2, and 3. You give resources. But it really does, to me, you always brought it back to, as much as you're living in a Hollywood life that seems to be so much of the veneer and the glam, you really get into the core, the heart, the real meaning of living. Were you surprised by that, or was it something that you intended to bring the reader through?
Well, it's not like I sat down and outlined. What happened was, I wrote the book over 9 years, okay? I wasn't constantly writing during that time, but I had probably 6 chapters done, including the intro and foreword and all these different things, all the way up until about 2007, I think, or 8 or 9 maybe. I don't even remember now. But I finally went, you know what? I need to start paying attention to this. And then in 2010, when I found out I had the BRCA gene, and then I went through some major surgeries like Angelina Jolie and all that, I finally went, you know what, now I really need to focus. I got to get this book done. This is my life project. This is my heart. Mm-hmm. I want to tell my story because I think it will be inspirational to single mothers. And, that, and I say that at the very end of the book. I tell my story because single mothers, I think, are such a hurting, struggling breed, and it is such a very challenging existence to be a single mother. No matter how you size it up, it is very challenging. Whether you are wealthy and have tons of money, you're still going it alone and navigating a sea that was intended, for more than one person to help, to do that. And it's very difficult. And so that was, I always knew that. So as I was writing the book and found that, oh my gosh, this just sounds like a party animal book, I've got to, where's the single mom in it? I just had to keep coming back to that. And I really didn't, in telling my story, it's not like I had to make that stuff up. My son really was, my younger son was, at the time as we move into Los Angeles, is the only one with me. The older one was now 18 and moving on, but and not in my everyday life. But it was one of those things where, I could notice the changes. And that's the other thing, not letting your goals and the elation of starting to reach your goals blind you to what's going on with people that you care about in your life. And that's another life lesson that I talk about in the book, because it's easy to happen, and it happens to everybody. It happened to me, and you have to be willing, when you see that, to turn and go, okay, time to slow down, time to pay back more attention back to the things that matter, and let's pull this in a bit. And so that's what I did, but without sacrificing, everything that I'd worked for, of course, but it's finding that it's a delicate tap dance, but finding that. And so in writing the book, I added those stories because I felt like people needed to see that it wasn't just all a big party.
Right. And believe me, you did a great job at doing that. And, I'm only mom to 2 fur babies, but I still could, I still gleaned so much depth. And the humility that you share throughout the stories, I think, is very inspirational, because you do admit that, there's some tough times, and, we all have regrets and we all want to change things, but you really squeeze the lessons out of them to transform something better, out of it all. What are some of your favorite life lessons that, you've had a lot of feedback on the book already, but have you heard from readers some of their favorite life lessons or favorite things that, they shared with you that you would like to share with us?
Sure. I mean, I spoke to a guy he's trying to break into television production, and he read the book, and he just loved that, it gave him hope that, if you have a dream, you can make it happen, and that was a huge life lesson for him. Now, whether or not he's going to realize that, that's an easy antidote to throw out there. The book depicts there are practical things and not always easy. Not everybody can just pick up and move to Hollywood, if that's your dream. And not everybody can just pick up, they want to be a surgeon, they can't just quit everything and go to medical school. I mean, you have to take the practical steps to make your dream happen, and I think that was a huge life lesson for him. Like, okay, because as we were talking, he said, so I know this, I know that I probably need to do this, this, and this. And I said, yeah, you probably do, But so that was one of them, and another has come from women who have both, a lot of them single moms, a lot of them not, just saying, just very inspirational and empowering for women that, and I guess the life lesson, and that's such a popular thing right now, women's empowerment and equal wages and all those kinds of things. But to read a story where somebody is transparent and talks about, I let the guy buy me dinner. I was a struggling single mom, whatever. To be transparent like that and say, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's not always your best choice. And I think those kinds of, it's many, many life lessons that I've heard have really inspired people, I guess, and empowered them to be like, okay, she did it, and look at where she is now. Not that, I've arrived or anything, but, from point A to point B, look at the difference. So maybe these things that I've done in my past didn't discount me from achieving my dreams, and I think that's a big life lesson for people too.
Yeah. And, for anybody that's, starting dating again or doing the online dating thing, you have some great tips for online dating, things to do and not do. What not to tell and do tell. I mean, okay, that was like, oh, my God, this is, but they should have that on Match.com. But I wanted to read something because I'm looking at the time. We're getting back to, you're doing your career and all of the things that you went through. It really does come back to, being that mom, and what really matters most are those beautiful, precious boys that you had brought in to the world, and what you've done to help them be the person that they were created to be. But I wanted to read this little section here. It says, for anybody who's out there that's a parent who's maybe a single mom or just, dealing with some sort of challenge, you write, there isn't a parent on the planet who doesn't make mistakes or out-of-balance choices. Factoring single parents and the out-of-balance parenting statistics are probably off the charts. Parenting is one of the most challenging yet one of the most rewarding of life's responsibilities. But there's no guidebook for the decisions we parents are faced with or how we should apply our decisions to each individual child. We can only try to educate ourselves, make our decisions, hope for the best, observe and try to rectify or make adjustments as we go along in real time. And your courage to live in the present moment, you were very accepting. To me, one of the things I learned is you didn't spend time complaining about why has this happened. You spent your energy saying, this is the reality of what's happened and what can I do to bring the best fruit out of this bitterness. How do you think? Do you think that that's a lesson that was that natural to you? Did you get to that place? And how can you share that? Because I think that's something that we can all learn from, Lisa. I know I did as I was reading.
Well, I think that it can be learned. I think it also has, in my case, it was very natural. I have that's just one of my personality traits. I'm a doer, and I'm very pragmatic. I look at a situation, I go, okay, what do I need to do here? And so that's why in the book it's always me having to go back and go, oh, maybe I need to stop doing, because my kids need me, but I definitely think that it can be learned, especially to young, 20-somethings, because I remember as a young 20-something, I didn't just come out of the womb having all this, ability to just, grab on.
Be as resilient as you are in the book. You mean you weren't born that way?
Be as resilient. But I mean, I didn't just, look at a situation and go, okay, here's my situation. What can I do to make the best fruit out of it? I didn't have that ability out of the gate. Okay, no, I don't know that anybody does, but I think it does have to do with a lot of things, how you were raised, whatever. However, as I said, I think it can be learned, and I think that in those early 20s, you're coming out of high school, you're figuring out, okay, now who am I going to be as an adult? And I think that's the premier time that people can look and learn and emulate and start developing their patterns for their adult life. Now, does that mean somebody who's listening right now who's 60 can't do that? No. I think, especially as when you're older like that, even if you have really deeply ingrained bad habits of avoiding real situations and not doing anything, like I said, it goes back to being self-aware and noticing when you're doing it and stopping it, period. Stop doing the bad habits. Stop, and even if you do nothing to try and make a fruitful situation, don't avoid the situation anymore. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't, that sort of thing. And I think that is that's the best piece of advice that I can give is, find the people in your world who model what's right and pick up those morsels from them and try to emulate. That's the best that I can say. At least that's how I did it. I'm sure there are many other approaches and tips and, great books out there. You can sit and read every inspirational book, and I love Rumi, and I love so many great inspirational books, and Deb's book. But
you just shameless plug in there. I didn't ask you to say that. Okay, people, I just want you to know.
No, you did not. No. But, there's so much out there available to us in this day and age, and we could read until we're fat, of knowledge. But if you don't apply any of it, you have to actually find a project, a person, a situation, whatever, and start applying some of these principles to that situation, that person, that project, and to be able to see any fruit. You have to actually do those things.
And I think one of the ways that you continue the positive momentum into, bringing that sunshine out of the suffering, you really light the way, I think, for people by helping them. And you have so many great causes, whether it be the single mom, whether it be helping people, with PR and getting into Hollywood, whether it be dealing with helping people for breast cancer and recovery, and all of those things that you've dealt with, and marriage, and it just goes on. And I really want to thank you for sharing, yourself in a very transparent way, and lessons that I don't think any of us can really understand that we're getting out of the book. It's like, okay, you find your way on the way to looking for someplace else, or whatever that quote is. It's like, okay, you think you're reading the book for this one reason, and you think you're connecting with Lisa in these pages for one reason, and then you discover at the end that it was really a whole other thing that you discovered about yourself in you sharing your story. A lot of wisdom and a lot of funny, and I want people to be able to get your newsletter. And it's really amazing, because if you think you're just going in for this light and airy, there's so much depth to it. It really was surprising how I thought, wow, I would never have known you suffered so much here, or I never laughed so hard in some sections with some of the Hollywood stuff, and then getting back to this, okay, and how can I apply this into my life, which I can see why the book had, won so many awards. But you have a way, because we're at the end of the time, so I want people to be able to get the book, but your newsletter, which I subscribe to, is fantastic. And, you're an artist besides other things. Renaissance woman, here we come. How can people connect with you?
They can find me on my Facebook pages. There's an email sign up on both my author page, Lisa-Jey-Davis author, and on the ms-cheevious page, on one of those little tabs underneath the cover photo, or they can go to ms-cheevious, ms-cheevious.com and go to the blog. On any of those blog posts, on the right-hand column is a sign up for the for the email. So.
Oh, my goodness. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I tell you, you are not boring, girlfriend. I tell you, there is just one thing about
Thank you.
You're not finished. I can't wait to hear what's going to be happening next. And I know you have another book coming out soon. Do you want to tell people about that?
Yes,
tell me when that's coming out.
Well, I thought it was going to be this year. I thought it was actually going to be a couple years ago. As you know, you read the first draft of that. It's called Getting Over Your Ovaries, How to Make the Change of Life Your Biatch. And only I spell it out the correct way. But and it's really a humorous take on, women as they get older and how to handle it, how to handle that hormonal shift, that massive hormonal shift that happens, and how to do it with grace and humor and enjoy every moment, which is my motto.
Oh, my goodness.
So.
Well, I tell you what, I can't wait till we have the show on that, because I love that book. And everybody, if you don't believe it, just look at Lisa J's smiling face. Look at her, how beautiful she is with that big smile, and know that, the best is yet to come for you, too. And I love how you bring us all on your journey, and I thank you for your honesty and integrity, because some good change is going to happen for a lot of people in their lives, and you really have so much hope and inspiration for anybody that's gone through any type of adversity, for anybody who thinks that, this dream can't come true. I'm telling you, read this book, because Lisa will make you believe, anything is possible. And it could just be 5 minutes around, as the quote says, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. It's just around the corner. And, hey, there's so many things still yet to come with you. I tell you, you're very exciting, your life. I'm just going to live vicariously through you. You are unbelievable, Lisa. Oh, my goodness.
Thanks, Deb. Thank you so
much
for having me.
All right. Well, until next time, everybody, get the book, Lisa-Jey-Davis. She's amazing, and she walks her talk, and she's the real deal. She's one of the best people that I know, and if one of the lessons in her story is make sure that you know who you surround yourself with, then you want to get around Lisa, because, wow. She will bring you down to the real deal and tell it like it is, and so many great tips. Lisa J at ms-cheevious.com. Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate you sharing your shine with us today.
Thanks, Deb. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Well, if you've enjoyed the show as much as I have, and I hope that you have, you can keep us going and growing by sharing the show with a friend, not only getting Lisa J's book on Amazon, which is a bestseller. Just make sure that you share this show on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. One person touches another person, and you never know the difference that you might make by just taking 2 seconds to share this show with a friend. Get my Mind Vitamin News, and you'll get a listing of all of our great guests. Thank you so much. Make it a great day, and know that the best is yet to come. Ms-Cheevious will help you get there.
Thank you for listening to the Best People We Know radio show with your host, Deb Scott. For more on Deb and her guests, plus her award-winning guidebook to transformation, The Sky is Green and the Grass is Blue, Turning Your Upside-Down World Right Side Up, go to Deb's website, greenskyandbluegrass.com. You can also connect with Deb for coaching or speaking, and sign up for Deb's free Mind Vitamin newsletter while you're there. So now, you're one step closer today to your greatness. We look forward to being with you next time on the Best People We Know radio show.